Game Over Edmonton is broadcasting from the Game Over Network channel for the playoffs, but come 2024 in October, we're relaunching with our own channel. So for all of your Edmonton Oilers news, analysis, and fun, make sure you open the Game Over Network channel from this video, scroll past my ugly mug, and head on down to the Game Over Edmonton channel from our featured channels area. Click subscribe and make sure you ring that reminder bell to make sure that you get notified whenever we post something or go live.
Maple Leafs fans, welcome back to Game Over Toronto. My name is Lauren Williamson. Welcome to my living room. Happy to have you here. Let's talk about that Maple Leafs game, shall we? It's games like tonight that really challenge me as a fan, and it's different to be a fan than watching than fan and taking notes, because on paper, the Leafs were pretty good. I mean, we'll talk about how awful the special teams have been recently and for most of the season later. The end of the second period, it was tied 1-1, and it was still a winnable game at that point. Apparently there was something that happened right at the end, like when the second intermission was happening, where Domi knocked over Swayman, and that seems to have kicked off the C4 explosion in the game, because up until then, it was pretty tight hockey. I mean, the end of the first period ends, the shots are 7-7, goals are 0-0. It seemed like a very even, low-scoring game to start. And the wheels completely didn't fall off the wagon so much as the whole wagon kind of caught fire and blew up. And I can't help but feel like maybe some of that was fueled by the fact that, and Leafs fans, I love you, I'm one of you. If we're up 1-0 and we are playing against arguably one of the best goaltenders in the league right now, maybe don't be chanting his name, because he's just going to get better. Because, I mean, the whole game, Jeremy Swayman, he was by far the best player on the ice for either team tonight. It's not even close. I don't know if there is a Leaf that even pales in comparison to his single leg pad, because that game was an unbelievable feat of goaltending. I can't even lie. As somebody that usually plays goal when I play hockey, it was incredibly impressive, and that would be considered a game that I would say Swayman stole. On top of that, obviously the Leafs weren't able to capitalize on opportunities, which is going to be the main crux of the problem and the main thing that we talk about here tonight. Because not only were Leafs fans confident after they went up 1-0, and don't get me wrong, I understand how exciting it is when our team is winning. We were up 1-0 for less than 4 minutes. Actually, less than 5 minutes. 4 minutes and 26 seconds. If we're up 1-0 and it's that close, it is completely unreasonable and unacceptable that people are chanting the other team's goalie's name at the beginning of the playoffs when you're up 1-0. Okay? If you were at the game tonight, I hope you had a good time. Don't get me wrong. I am also sick of people saying that Leafs barns are always very quiet, because I do not believe that's true. I have been to lots of Leaf games now in my life, thank goodness, and they're pretty good once the crowd gets going. And I think if you're going to chant a goalie's name, it should be your own goalie's name when they're doing well, when they make good saves, like what was happening at the beginning of the game. More than once tonight, Ilya Samsonov made unbelievable saves that ended up getting and hailing his name being chanted, as we know he loves. And he earned that. Why are you chanting the name of the opposite team's goalie when you've only scored 1 on them? Right? I mean, let's go back. Let's turn the page back quite literally to a couple days ago, when the Leafs completely got shut out, essentially. They didn't get shut out. They did get 1 goal. Thank you, David Kampf. The last time you played against this goalie, you scored 1 goal. And then you lost the game 5-1. And then tonight we were up 1-0, and you started chanting his name. Please just be better as people and fans of the team that you're allegedly a fan for, because, oh my God, don't get me wrong, I believe that in the playoffs, it's important for players to be able to forget about the last game and just move forward and not stay bitter, right? You forget, but you never let her go. But it's important that you remember the mistakes that happened. Okay? The Leafs weren't even up against, like, in Boston on Saturday. They weren't like up 1-0. It was 4-0 when David Kampf finally scored. And you finally scored 1 goal, and then you come into this game tonight, okay? Fair enough, you played very well on Monday. Credit where credit's due, the Leafs showed up, and Samsonov was pretty decent for 45 minutes of that game. Tonight, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Do you not know who the other team is? Like, if you've been around, right? If you've been a fan for over a decade, you will remember what happened in 2013 and remember how quickly good things can evaporate like a small puddle in a 140-degree day in New Mexico. Like, it takes a single mistake, like multiple happened tonight, for a play to go the other way and for shit to get real. Okay? Just ask what happened in Carolina the other day when Carolina scored 3 goals in 5 minutes? It was ridiculous. And this is the playoffs, guys. Like, how do you not remember who you're playing against? It's still Boston. We beat them last game, but the series was tied 1-1. And then when you're up 1-0, you start chanting the other goalie's name? Please don't do that. If you're going again, maybe just don't. Okay? Like, pretty please. Whatever toppings you want on the Sunday, the pretty please Sunday, I don't care. Put whatever toppings you want. Stop it. Like, you might as well have been doing the wave. Seriously, like, it was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. Let's talk about the game. It didn't get off to a great start. We talked at the end of last Game Over about how important it was for the Leafs to not take stupid penalties. And they didn't really take any stupid penalties last game. There was one. But to start the game off, 40 seconds in, Simone Benoit puts the puck over the glass. And I watched it sail into the crowd. And I went, oh, it's going to be one of those. And it didn't end up being one of those right off the gate. They end up killing it off. Kampf gets the first shot. Edmondson had a fantastic night tonight. He was probably the best Leaf on the ice tonight, if we're being honest with ourselves. And actually, it ended up hitting Witherspoon on the Bruins on the knee. Even though I'm not a Bruins fan, I don't want anybody to get hurt, so I hope he's okay. But he played the rest of the game, so obviously he was fine. Toronto gets a power play not long after, and it was a parade to the penalty box for Boston, with which Toronto did nothing. Toronto power play hit twice in the first period. Nothing happened. They had a tripping call on Pavel Zacha. Nothing. Boston killed. There was a bunch of hits to end the first period, which was just great to see. I'm not gonna lie. Like, David Kampf, Simone Benoit, Jake McCabe, and Ryan Reeves, all within like a 25-second span, had 4 quite loud hits all over the ice, and it was great. I mean, what a way to end the period. You don't sacrifice a goal, right? Which is a bad habit that they've had essentially all 3 games. And you finish the first period tied 0-0. It's all available to you at that point. Like, I really thought that this game was going to end 2-1 because of how tight it was. Like, there were so many opportunities for both teams that could have gone in, and both goalies were fantastic. But Swayman was far and away the better goalie, and that's just the reality of it. The second period, the end of the first period, shots were 7-7. No goals for anybody. Austin Matthews hit a post a minute and 10 into the second period. Both teams were trading visits. Honestly, it felt really weird. The first 10 minutes of the second period, I took no notes. I felt like I wasn't watching, but I was, and there wasn't anything of note to write down. Samsonov gets hit in the mask. He takes it off. He makes that one stop where he was just standing. It was very bizarre. Pasternak hooked Yarncroke at 8:15 in, guess what? They did nothing with it. Austin Matthews gets a shot. Bruins clear, nothing with it. Yep, fourth line versus the Pasta Marchand line was actually pretty competitive. I got to hand it to that fourth line. Connor Dewar, even though he hasn't scored, it feels like every time the fourth line is on the ice, they are in the other team's zone. They are so strong on the forecheck. Even like Ryan Reeves had like a takeaway tonight. It was gorgeous. It was completely unexpected. And that fourth line, like whenever William Nylander does end up coming back, hopefully it's soon, and Bobby McMahon come back, you can't touch the bottom line and you can't touch the top line. So the answer is somewhere in the bottom six of who's going to come out and who's going to stay. Yarncroke got a shot. They get stops from both sides, like again, over and over again. And then finally, Matthew Nyes, on probably Mitch Marner's best play so far in the playoffs. He gains the zone on a great pass from Edmondson. He holds it, goes around the long way into the face-off dot, and then with the beautiful pass that there was a great distraction in front, Matthew Nyes buries it, goes tumbling over Swayman, and it was a really beautiful goal. It was a great way to start the game, and you could feel that the Leafs were really feeling themselves. A couple of minutes after that, there were so many opportunities. I don't even know how many pileups happened in this game. At least half a dozen, where Swayman was down, and there was literally just a flurry of black and yellow and white jerseys and blue and white jerseys just kind of spaghettied into each other. People on the ground, people on top of those people on each other's faces. It was wild. And not a single time were the Leafs able to bury any of those chances tonight, which is so frustrating. I mean, it's one of those things, right, where in the game, it seems like such a good opportunity. And then they show like a different angle and it's like, there was no way for him to get a shot. But there was at least half a dozen times tonight where someone was in front of the net in a good position and they just weren't able to get the 6 inches one way or another to get enough clear space to shoot, and they weren't able to capitalize. And then Trent Frederick with 2:23 to go in the second period, after the giant commotion between Marchand and Bertuzzi that wasn't called, because why do that, it ends up being 1-1 to end the second period. Even at the end of that, the Leafs get a power play. McAvoy gets a roughing call, but it gets negated. There's a high stick on Charlie Coyle by Bertuzzi. 53 seconds left in the Leafs power play, but it ends up being 4-on-4 for 15 seconds until the end of the second. And again, end of the second period, it's 1-1. The shots are 21-17. I mean, the end of the first period, it was 7-7, and it didn't feel like there weren't much more opportunities in the second until like essentially 8 minutes left in the second period. And then it just felt like a firing range. Like everybody was shooting everything on net. As soon as the Leafs got a goal, it was like they couldn't stop shooting. And normally that's a great thing to see. And normally they're able to at least have one fall in for them, but they just weren't able to get it tonight. So end of the second period, 1-1. Third period starts 4-on-4 for 38 seconds. They end up finishing. The extra player for Boston comes out, and who else but Jake DeBrusk scores a minute and 7 into this third period. Marner actually was on the ice for that. There was a board battle right on the close boards in the Toronto Maple Leafs end, and there was a scrum in the corner, and then Marchand was here and Marner was here, and you just see Marchand get the puck and like come out, and Marner's just standing there. Like, they don't even pan the camera up. Marchand moves out of the thing, and Marner's just standing there. There was a couple times tonight, even though he did get an assist on the Nyes goal. It was a very nice assist, don't get me wrong. But there was a lot of time tonight where he was just standing still, not moving. And that builds up quickly, and that's not how you play winning hockey in the playoffs. Bertuzzi was robbed not long after that by Jeremy Swayman. There was a crazy pause in the play. Boston killed off another penalty. And Marner, another pass to no one. The puck landed on top of the net with just under 12 minutes to go in the third period. JVR hit a post with 9:40 to go. And then Bertuzzi ends up actually tying it up. And I, as per usual, screamed my face off. He was around the net so much tonight, it really felt like if anybody was going to score, it was going to be him. And I don't know how many shots he had. He must have led the Leafs, if not first and second on the team in shots, because he was all over the ice side. He was finding space. He was in really good positions. It was really good to see. And as somebody who in last year's playoffs, he played all 7 games with Boston, got 10 points. I think Bertuzzi's only at like 3 or 4 points so far this series, if that. And so it's nice to see him get another one. The Morgan Riley shot from right near the blue line hits off the inside of Bertuzzi's foot, hits off the defender, and then in the back of the net. But what happens? 28 seconds later, everybody, who else but the Rat scores and leaps into the air. It was a very quick stifling inside of Scotiabank Arena. And I imagine that anybody that had chanted Swayman's name at that point immediately regretted it. I mean, realistically, the game kind of ends there, right? They got 8 minutes left. They don't really get any opportunities. The Leafs get a couple of really nice scrum chances, again, right in front, but nobody can find the space or the time to bury it. And Tavares gets called with 1:04 to go. There's a Boston power play. They pull Samsonov when they get possession and they're moving it out of the zone. They turn it over. Marchand gets the empty net, and the Leafs lose 4-2. There you go. You got a 60-minute game summed up in 14 minutes essentially, because the main storyline of this is that the difference between the Leafs winning and the Boston Bruins winning tonight is not only goaltending, sure that was a factor. The main point is the fact that on 3 power plays, Boston scored twice, and on 5 power plays, Toronto scored how many times, everybody? How many times? It's one. They got 0. They have had 1 power play goal in the whole series. 1 power play goal in the whole series. And that's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. It's just not. I know that they lost Spencer Carberry in the offseason, and he is now the head coach of Washington Capitals. It's so good for you. And so bad for us, because holy shit has our power play and our penalty kill been so bad all year. Guy Boucher, credit where credit's due. Everybody thinks he's this great coach. Oh, he's hunting for the next head coach job, blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry. I wouldn't trust that guy to teach my players how to take a face-off well, because how is the power play so just... I would rather not get any penalties called against Boston. I would rather play 5-on-5. How bad is that? Like, it's that if you want to win in this time of year, your big guys have to be going, your defense has to be good, your goaltending has to be decent, and you have to be able to capitalize on power play opportunities, and the Leafs just can't. They just can't do it. Like, Let's rewind the clock back, shall we? Let's look at what happened on Monday real quick. Just real quick. The power play goal. Okay? The only reason that they get that goal is because they don't do their normal try and set up. The reason that goal happened was because in the second half of game 2, they decided that they weren't going to just do the double drop back that for some reason is still in existence. And instead of doing that, they just play off the rush. If the puck squared out into the neutral zone, someone carried it back in right away. There was no going back, wasting 12 seconds, trying to get set up with all 5 of your players back in your own defensive zone. It was a waste of time, and it continues to be a waste of time. And on Monday, they realized that. They changed the way that they played, and they scored a fucking goal. And it was great. John Tavares scored a goal. The goal that tied the game at the end of the second period in the second game is off of an unpredictable entry type. Because guess what? Every single team in the league has your power play tape, and they know what you're going to do. And all they have to do is stand at the blue line and push Mitch Marner back, and Leafs aren't going to get set up. And they are unable to score, seemingly, if they are trying to force this setup, which is what's been happening the whole playoffs. It's what's happening in the second half of the season. And I don't care, regardless of how this season ends. I don't care if we end the playoffs at the Stanley Cup final. I don't care if we end in the 3rd round, 2nd round, 1st round. I want Guy Boucher fired the second the final horn goes, and I want him to be banned from ever coaching a Leafs team again, because holy shit, I'm convinced my 1-year-old cat would be better at maintaining a power play average with the players that we have, because it is unwatchable. It's unwatchable. It's unplayable. It's unwatchable. It is suffrage to watch. Like, we're so good at 5-on-5 for the most part. We're We're so good. We're able to capitalize on opportunities. We're able to create space. And we have arguably the best goal scorer in the league right now, except apparently when it's the playoffs. I love Austin Matthews. If you see this, Austin, I love you. But holy shit, man. If you hit one more post, I think my brain might actually leak out of my ears. And it will join all of the tears that will be happening because it's like there's a magnet in the puck and it just hits the post so many times. He must have more posts than, I don't know because he's hit as many posts as he's had hits this playoffs. And he has had a lot of hits. He's played so good. He's played so physical, very defensively responsible. And if it doesn't continue to improve, and if they don't wave a magic wand and fix the power play, we are cooked like a goose. Because you can't only give up 3 power plays, that's still a lot, and have Boston score on 2 of them, and us not be able to capitalize on 10 minutes of a man advantage. I hope that, there's 2 days between now and the next game. The next game is what? Saturday night. At practice, I hope all they do is practice the power play. Don't touch anything else. Don't touch anything else. Have your goaltenders practice. That's fine. You should only be practicing the power play because it's clear that is what is sinking your season. 5 power plays and not a stink of a goal to speak of. It's unbelievable. I can't believe that they were able to get into the position that they are with a power play that would be better off not existing. We'd be better off being shorthanded at this point, honestly. Like, it's just been awful. I've been ranting. Let's talk about some people in the chat. Welcome if you are new. I'm actually really quickly going to hit the ad for Game Over Calgary. Please go subscribe if you're also a Calgary fan.
Game Over Calgary is relaunching in October. For all your Game Over Calgary content, make sure you subscribe to our Calgary-specific YouTube channel. Open the Game Over Network YouTube page in a new tab from this video, scroll past Andrew talking, and click on the Game Over Calgary channel in our featured channel section. Click subscribe and make sure you hit the drop-down menu to get notified when we post videos or go live. Tell all your Flames fan friends and family to check it out and join our awesome community. And make sure you smash the like button on this video right into oblivion.
I was just reading over your comments in the chat while lovely Peter Klein was talking. Luke Venables, thank you. Luke, welcome. Happy to have you, buddy. Matthews has 27 posts this season. That's silliness. Like, okay, so he has 69 goals, which he had 69 goals in the regular season, which means if he had gotten even half of the posts in, he would have gotten 80 goals, which is just banana cakes. Matt Wilkins, welcome back, Matt. Happy to have you, buddy. Edmondson is a revelation. Yes. Let's talk about Joel Edmondson, because I remember when he got traded to the Leafs, actually, Andrew Berkshire from Game Over Montreal, actually texted into like our group chat and was like, oh, Toronto, haha, I can't wait to watch the Leafs series lose on a Joel Edmondson turnover. And while that may still happen, and knock on wood, it doesn't. Okay, I know it's still early, not trying to speak it into existence, but he has been so good on our team so far. Like, we don't need him to be anybody that he's not. We don't need him to try and take every single slap shot from the point every single time. But oh my goodness, he's just nice and tall. He's nice and strong. He's really, really, really good in the neutral zone in terms of stopping the other team of getting advancing. He's really good blocking our own blue line. He has been nice and steady. He had a really nice slap shot tonight that actually went on goal, but it was deflected wide. He's been really, really, really good. Him and McCabe have been far and away the best defensemen that we've had so far on the Leafs in the playoffs this year. Also, Simone Benoit, I can't believe that we already have him re-signed. Thank goodness, because he has lit up one of the main Bruins players at least twice a game, every game that he's played so far, and it's so good to watch. The crowd gets so into it. He very clearly feeds off of it, and he's just doing a really good job of putting himself in a position and making life harder on the other team. Joel Edmondson, Simone Benoit, and Jake McCabe being the heroes for this year's playoffs so far was not what I had on my bingo card. I don't know about you guys, but Joel Edmondson has been unbelievable. He's been better than I expected, if I'm being completely honest, because I was expecting someone that was a lot more of an offensive liability. Now, maybe the reason for that not being the case right now is because he's not expected to have this Erik Karlsson type role where he's going to be the primary person that's putting the puck on net. He's not having to cheat for offense. He's just trying to play solid defense. And it's been really good to see. Honestly, like, don't get me wrong, we have a lot of turnover still happening for the Leafs, but it doesn't seem like it's really bad defensive reads that are happening by the defensemen that are leading to a lot of the goals. It's a lot of cheating for offense. It's not staying at home, playing smart and getting burned anyway. There's not a lot of that happening. It's a lot of the Leafs beating themselves, not covering their man properly, not having proper coverage, not playing defense strong enough as a whole team, not specifically the defense, which has been a problem in the years past. Now, obviously, the other part of that is the fact that the Leafs are still only able to score, on average, 2 goals a game, and have only been able to score like 2 goals a game for more or less the last 2 seasons. And obviously, William Nylander being out doesn't help that. And it's inspiring to see that the Leafs are still able to at least put a couple goals in the net, but realistically, the key to all of this is being able to take it. It all comes back to the power play. I'm telling you, like, let's just ruminate for a second. Let's say the Leafs have not even, I don't know, they're one for what, 10 in their last 3 games. It's just not been. If you have like a 25% power play, the Leafs probably win this game because they get at least 1 power play goal, which means when Marchand scores in the 3rd period, all they do is tie the game. It's a difference maker, man. I'm telling you. And not only that, but like the Leafs power play, the Leafs penalty kill, my apologies, hasn't been very good either. I mean, that high stick on Charlie Coyle to end the 2nd period, which completely negates the Leafs power play. It really puts them in a bad position. It puts them in a really tough position because, I mean, the game is still tied at the end of that period, but you start off shorthanded and then you have an exhausted team because there was 38 seconds to start the 3rd period where they were 4-on-4, and then Jake DeBrusk comes out. He's got fresh legs because he's been chilling in the box and had intermission and not been on the ice. And, bing, bang, boom, and it's in. Like, it all happens within 25 seconds of each other. And so if we make smarter plays defensively, there was a couple times tonight on the penalty kill where one, I think it actually happened to Marner once. They were on the far side of the ice over by the Leafs bench, and he kind of pushed it towards the blue line. He was on the PK, and it didn't get out, and it ended up being I think it was the 2nd goal actually, where Marner was literally on the ice and he pushed it to the line, but it didn't come all the way out. Or was it that the 1st goal? I didn't write that part down. I have to write so fast because I have to take notes, and my messy writing is chicken scratch. The special teams is a different maker in tonight's game for sure. Don't get me wrong, Samsonov I really wish would have had that 2nd goal by, not the 2nd goal by Marchand, the 3rd goal. It was really disheartening for us to go up and then for Boston to do to us what we did to them the other night when Domi scored 14 seconds later. Marchand gave it right back to us tonight. I mean, he's the captain of the Bruins, and he is Brad Marchand through and through, and he's just awful to play against, and he might be on the Canadian synchronized diving team at the Summer Olympics. But the fact of the matter is he can put up the points when it matters. And that's the difference between someone that is a professional hockey player and then a playoff performer. And Jake DeBrusk is a playoff performer, and Brad Marchand is a playoff performer, and Jeremy Swayman is a playoff performer. And so far, I can't put in pen on my paper book who the best Leaf is in the playoffs right now. Because none of them are playing very good. Like, don't get me wrong, like Tyler Bertuzzi's been as good as he can be, but the rest of the team is struggling behind him. I mean, the 4th line is arguably like one of the bright spots on this team right now, and that's not saying much. So, yeah. Let's get back into the chat a little bit. At least one Boston team lost tonight. That's very funny. Laura and I may be only one of 2 Leafs/Bruins fans. How did that happen? Let's ruminate on that in a minute. Always rooting for the home team, but it was a sad loss because we just ate butt. Yeah, you're not wrong. The player code is all about don't touch the goalie. Hockey God spoke up tonight after Domi did a stupid thing to aggravate it. Yeah, like they show that in the 2nd intermission, and in hindsight, like if that, I mean, I watched it, and that can completely change the entire energy of a game, because you take a team that you're tied with and the series is tied with, and a team that is very much about and is advertised and is well known to be a stick up for your buddy beside you team in Boston. They don't let that kind of shit fly, and they will make you pay by scoring, and that's what they did tonight. It was really difficult to watch. Let's keep going on the questions here. Power play wasn't good for the Leafs, but what about the PK? The latter special team was, for the Leafs, an unmitigated disaster via having allowed 2 power play goals on 3. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, special teams, and can we again, we're going to rewind into earlier this season. If you're watching this, it means you're probably a pretty hardcore Leafs fan, I'm guessing. Do you remember earlier in this season when they were talking about, and it was not advertised, but it was reported that they didn't even, like, practice the penalty kill at one point? Do you remember when that was, like, a thing earlier in the season? I think that changed around Christmas. But for the first little while, like, they weren't practicing the power play or the penalty kill at practice. They just weren't practicing it. And it's showing in the fact that it is a complete and utter disaster. Like, Chernobyl meltdown levels of unreliability and inconsistency, and their complete lack of ability to handle special teams on either end of it. Like, if you look at other teams, let's look at other teams across the league that are playing right now. Okay, let's look at Edmonton. Let's look at Vancouver. Let's look at Winnipeg. Let's look at Vegas. Let's look at Florida. All of those teams, Tampa, okay, Carolina, if you give them 2 to 3 power plays, they're going to score on at least one of them. And for the Leafs to not be able to only capitalize on 1 power play in 3 playoff games, you should, like, fire Guy Boucher now. What's the difference? Like, you could have nobody in that position and they would probably be doing better. Honestly, like, it literally could not be worse for the Leafs in terms of special teams. It could not be worse. It's so brutal to watch. Yeah. What else do we need to talk about? We talked about the crowd chanting Swayman when we were only up by 1. Again, reminder, please don't do that. Leafs special teams needs to take a nap and an IV drip on some kind of nutrients, because it is lifeless and dead in the water. The good thing is we got 2 days off before we play another game. If one of you happens to have, like, a fairy grandmother connection somewhere, right? Like, I have, like, a 6th connection situation. I know somebody that's cousins with Shawn Mendes that's friends with Taylor Swift. Like, I'm 6 degrees of separation from Taylor. Can someone, like, get some kind of magic voodoo thing happening and do something about the Leafs power play? Because, oh my goodness, is it just awful to watch. It's just awful. I couldn't be less excited for when the Leafs get a power play. And it's been like that all season. This isn't a new problem. And this is the issue, is that there is a 0% chance, unless you happen to know a fairy godmother, there's a 0% chance that the Leafs are going to figure out their special teams by Saturday. It just doesn't work that way. You had all season to get it right, and at no point was it rolling, except for, like, this weird 6-week spot where you couldn't stop scoring. And then since then, it's dried up. It's dried right up, like the salt flats out in Utah. And it's just brutal to watch. Ilya Samsonov tonight, he had an okay night. He made a couple really, really good saves. You hope he has at least one of the other ones. The Trent Frederick goal, he should have saved that one, if we're being really honest with themselves. I really wish he would have saved that one, but sometimes you have a good goalie and they don't play well, and sometimes you are up 1-0 and the fans of your team decide to start calling the name of the other goalie. And sitting on your couch and seeing that happen is basically the worst thing. And it was like they wished it into existence by doing that. Like, all you're doing is inviting demons in. I don't even really believe in that. But it's that kind of karma that you put out into the universe that comes back and ends up losing you a game. And they did. They got completely pummeled in the last 20 minutes. It was a winnable game at the end of the second period, and by the end of the third, I turned the TV off with 30 seconds to go to get the stream ready faster because I saw Marchand get an empty net goal with like 45 seconds to go, and with the way that the puck was falling tonight, I didn't believe that they were going to come back. And I've been in Maple Leaf Square a year ago today when the Leafs came back and fought back and roared back from a 4-1 deficit with 10 and a half minutes to go. I was there. I saw the whole thing. I remember the Alex Kerfoot tip in front of the net, and I remember losing my mind. And it was great. And, you know, I mistakenly was at work today, and I was at my desk, and I was looking at pictures from that day, and it was such a great experience, and had such a good time with the people I was there with. And all day I was hoping that tonight there would be echoes of that greatness. And instead it felt like an echo of the Florida series where we couldn't score. We couldn't get any opportunities. The puck wasn't falling in. And our special teams just were completely lifeless. So I don't know what they changed between now and Saturday. Maybe the magic answer is you get William Nylander back and suddenly your second unit is a threat again and you can actually use it properly. But you're putting a whole lot of eggs in one basket because it's been a problem all season. And so I think regardless of how this year ends, whether it's in the next 2 weeks or the next two months from now, I imagine that someone else will be in charge of the Leafs special teams at the beginning of the next season. And at least I hope. But for now, obviously, it's been a very great night. Thank you for coming in. Very nice to have you here. Please make sure you hit like and make sure you hit subscribe on the Game Over channel. Like we've all been saying all week, we've restarted Game Over. We've relaunched. Right now, everything is going to be run off of the main hub channel. There is existing channels for each city in the Canadian market on the YouTube channel. I will put the link in the description at the end of this chat. It would go a long way if you could go and hit subscribe on Game Over Toronto, because I would love to see you next season, and I hope that you want to see me as well. But for now, it's Lauren signing off from Game Over Toronto. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, Lauren in the Six. Make sure you follow Game Over as well. Leafs fall 4-2 to Boston in Toronto. Series 2-1 up by Boston. So we will see you Saturday. Have a great rest of your week. A great rest of your week. And let's all hope to the fairy godmothers that the Leafs power play is either put out of its misery or decides to wake up and be Wayne Gretzky, because it doesn't feel like there's going to be any in between. Have a great night.